Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we slice through the noise and distill a stack of sources into the essential knowledge you need. Today, we're plunging headfirst into the 2025 Las Vegas Raiders season.
That's right. Our mission today is to unpack all the significant changes in the Raiders roster and coaching since last year. We'll delve into any drama or points of contention that surfaced, and of course lay out some informed predictions for how their upcoming season might unfold. We've meticulously combed through detailed previews from sources like Walter Football and Football FanSpot, plus all the official schedule details from sportsbrackets.net.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Give you the full picture of the silver and black as they head into 2025. Seems like a year that feels like a major turning point for the franchise. First off, the biggest shift arguably comes right at the very top, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Raiders have brought in a new head coach, and it's a name that's, well, incredibly familiar to NFL fans everywhere.
Indeed. Yeah, they hired Pete Carroll, who's soon to be 74 years old. Our sources universally highlight this as an aggressive win-now approach. Driven, it seems, by Carroll's desire to bypass a slower rebuild, something a younger coach might typically undertake. This move distinctly contrasts with opting for an up-and-coming coach who might be in it for the long haul. It really signals a clear intent for immediate impact, maybe even a Super Bowl push in the short term.
Given they finished a dismal 4-13 last season, this win-now approach makes some sense on paper. But, Walter Football gave their overall draft class a stark C grade.
Yeah.
Do our sources suggest the strategy might actually be creating more problems than it solves? Right out of the gate, it feels like a push for quick results, which, well, that can definitely come with its own set of risks.
That's a sharp observation, and it's something our sources grapple with. An aggressive win-now strategy implies an immediate influx of top-tier talent, right? But a C-grade draft kind of suggests the talent pipeline isn't fully aligned with that ambition. It begs the question, how much can veteran additions truly compensate for a shaky talent pipeline? Especially when, as we'll see, one of those key draft picks comes with a cloud of controversy.
Okay, well, speaking of that win-now approach, it absolutely shines through in their offensive acquisitions, starting with what appears to be a very significant move at quarterback.
It truly does. The Raiders made a big splash, trading for Geno Smith, Pete Carroll's former quarterback from the Seahawks. He's seen as a colossal upgrade over last year's options, Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, effectively elevating the team's floor to position, which, let's be honest, was desperately needed. However, there's a pretty big point of contention here. Smith is heading into his age 35 season with a 2-year, $75 million extension. Sources indicate his projected cap hit could be above the 11% cutoff in 2 of the next 3 seasons.
And for those wondering, that 11% threshold, that's a crucial metric, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Historically, only Hall of Fame or future Hall of Fame quarterbacks have won Super Bowls with a cap hit above that percentage. So it's a massive financial commitment for a player entering the later stage of his career, places an immense burden on him to perform at an elite Super Bowl winning level.
That's a huge gamble for a player in his mid-30s. So if Geno Smith is the immediate solution, and he's commanding that kind of salary, what do our sources say about the overall depth behind him? Is the team simply mortgaging the future without fully solving the present? Especially if Smith's age becomes a factor.
Our sources paint a nuanced picture there. Behind Smith, Aiden O'Connell, who was arguably the most successful of their quarterbacks last season. He's seen as a useful long-term backup, but unlikely to develop into a starter. The QB room overall is described as probably about average. So while Geno is indeed an upgrade for right now, the depth chart suggests they're still not entirely set for the future. And this particular room won't be consistently winning them games on its own if Smith struggles or, faces injury.
Okay. From the big quarterback gamble, let's pivot to the backfield. Because here's where some of the, deepest controversies of the offseason surface.
Right. This is where things get particularly interesting and, a bit dramatic. The Raiders used their 6th overall pick on running back Ashton Janney. He is widely considered the top running back prospect of the 2025 NFL Draft. A truly explosive talent expected to make an immediate impact.
But our sources really dig into the controversy of this pick. They note that there are many talented running backs available later in the draft. Walter Football specifically calls it not a good decision, points to significant concerns about nepotism, due to Gianchi being drafted in part to help Pete Carroll's son, who is the running game coordinator. That's a pretty significant red flag, isn't it? Suggests priorities beyond just drafting the best player available for value. What are the long-term implications of a move like that?
It's definitely a point of contention. Could impact team morale, future draft strategy, sure. While the debate rages, though, Gianchi does fill a massive, undeniable need. The Raiders ranked near the bottom of the league in rushing stats last year, 31st in carries, 32nd in rushing yards, and a dismal 32nd in yards per carry. I mean, yeah. So the need for a dynamic rusher was absolutely undeniable. Depth behind him includes veteran Raheem Mostert, who's now 33, saw his yards per carry drop significantly last season, and Sincere McCormick. Mostert's age and recent performance raise questions. Can he shoulder a heavy load? And there's also concern about a lack of a clear passing down back. That's a critical role in today's NFL offenses.
Right. Okay, shifting to the passing game, our sources repeatedly highlight two players as potential game changers. What makes them so exciting?
Definitely a bright spot here. Tight end Brock Bowers, the 13th overall pick in 2024, absolutely exceeded expectations as a rookie. Set records, 112 receptions, nearly 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's already being called potentially the best tight end in the NFL. Yeah. And wide receiver Jakobi Meyers also had his first 1,000-yard season last year. Together, they accounted for nearly half of the team's targets. Shows you just how central they were.
So while the top of the receiving core looks very strong, what about the depth? Is it just a two-man show, or are there other weapons emerging?
Well, it's very top-heavy, unfortunately. Rookie Jack Bech, a second-round pick, has the best chance to contribute significantly. Will likely be a distant third in targets, though. Sources suggest he's almost guaranteed a starting spot, but with a very low target share compared to Bowers and Meyers. So don't expect a huge breakout season from him. Other rookies like Danae Thornton are seen as reaches for where they were drafted, might not make an immediate positive impact. So yeah, if either Bowers or Meyers were to go down, the Raiders' passing game could be in serious trouble.
And to cap off the offensive side, let's look at the offensive line. They were a decent unit last year, but what does the future hold for them given the changes?
The major change here is at center, with Andre James gone. Jackson Powers Johnson, a 2024 second-round pick, will move to his natural position at center full-time. He struggled a bit as a rookie playing guard, but now back at his collegiate position. There's significant potential for a big step forward. Left tackle Colton Miller remains a consistent strength, received PFF grades of 70 or higher for 5 straight seasons.
That's reliable.
Very. It really speaks to his consistent individual performance. The line overall is considered solid, which is crucial for both the run game and protecting Geno Smith. However, there's a question mark over Jordan Meredith's ability to replicate his surprisingly good 2024 performance over a full season. Given his undrafted background, limited previous snaps, they also added depth with third-round picks Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers, which helps.
Okay, moving to the other side of the ball. The defense was actually pretty solid last year, statistically speaking, ranked 14th in yards per play allowed, 7th in first down rate allowed, but they've seen significant turnover. What's the outlook there for 2025?
Well, the defense should be healthier this season, which is a significant plus, especially considering they suffered the second most adjusted games lost to injury in 2024. That metric accounts for how many key players were sidelined and for how long. It's a huge factor. However, despite that potential health rebound, they also lost 6 of their top 10 players in terms of snaps from last season. That's a lot of production and experience to replace.
Injuries really hammered their defensive line last year, didn't they? Especially with Max Crosby. Is there a rebound in sight for that unit, especially if they stay healthy?
Potentially a huge one. If they can stay healthy, that is. That's the big caveat. Max Crosby, a perennial top-tier edge rusher.
Yeah.
Missed 5 games last year, wasn't 100% when he played. Saw his sack total drop from 14.5 to 7.5.
Big drop.
Huge. Malcolm Kuntz missed the entire season with a knee injury. And Christian Wilkins, a big acquisition from last year, only played 5 games due to injuries. If these 3 can all stay healthy, the Raiders could boast one of the best pass rushes in the NFL. Tyree Wilson, the 2023 7th overall pick, also took a significant step forward last year after struggling as a rookie. So that adds to the potential strength.
Yeah.
That's a big if, though, but the upside is definitely there.
That health aspect seems absolutely critical because elsewhere on defense, things look a bit more concerning. Beyond that potential D-line strength, it sounds like they might have taken a step backward.
That's an understatement. Outside of Christian Wilkins, the interior defensive line is described as very thin, with underwhelming additions. Players like Adam Butler are good pass rushers but struggle against the run. Leki Fotu has consistently low PFF grades, indicating a lack of consistent impact. The linebacking core, in particular, lost its top 2 players, Robert Spillane and Divine Diablo, and their replacements are considered very underwhelming as well. Veterans like Devin White and Jalen Smith, who they brought in, have struggled with recent performance and injuries. Smith barely played at all over the past 2 seasons. It's a significant step backward for that unit, leaving them vulnerable right in the middle of the field.
And the secondary, how does that unit shape up, especially with some key losses? So if you're an opposing offensive coordinator, it sounds like the Raiders secondary is where you're salivating. Is that too harsh? Or do our sources really paint that bleak a
You're
picture?
not being too harsh at all. Sources call it arguably the worst cornerback group in the NFL
Mm-hmm.
and one of the worst secondaries in the league overall.
Wow.
Yeah. They lost key players like Nate Hobbs and Trevon Moehrig, who were significant contributors, while they brought in Eric Stokes and Jeremy Chin. Both have had consistency or injury issues throughout their careers. Raises major questions about their ability to be full-time, high-level starters. Young players like Jacorian Bennett and Isaiah Pola-Mao struggled significantly last season, leaving a very, very bleak situation for stopping the pass. It's a major area of concern. Could easily be exploited by opposing offenses, potentially negating some of that strong pass rush.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, before we get to predictions, let's talk about some areas of clear, undeniable strength, special teams, and then the actual road ahead for this team with their schedule.
Right. Daniel Carlson has been a brilliant kicker for the Raiders for years, consistently hitting from long range. Last season, he was 34 of 40 attempts, including an impressive 7 of 11 from 50-plus yards. And punter A.J. Cole. He's ranked in the top 5 in net punting for 4 straight seasons. So in the kicking game, the Raiders are in excellent shape. These are often unsung heroes, but their consistency can genuinely steal a game sometimes, convert those clutch moments.
Very true. What about their 2025 schedule? Is it favorable for a team trying to turn things around quickly, make that win now push?
The Raiders actually benefit from what's known as a last-place schedule, meaning they'll face some traditionally easier opponents throughout the season. Teams like the Patriots, Colts, Titans, Cowboys, Giants, and Browns. Their season officially kicks off September 7th on the road against the Patriots. Home opener is Monday, September 15th against the LA Chargers. That'll be a 10 p.m. Eastern game on ESPN. You can find their full schedule, including preseason and postseason dates, on sportsbrackets.net. That's our source for all those details. And remember, the NFL also uses flex scheduling from weeks 5 through 17 to maximize good matchups, so always check closer to game day for any potential changes.
Good reminder. And for those looking way ahead, playoffs and Super Bowl, when do those big games take place?
Okay, the 2026 NFL playoffs begin on January 10th, 2026, with Super Bowl LX scheduled for February 8th, 2026 at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. All these key dates, times, TV channels are available on sportsbrackets.net, so you can plan well in advance to catch all the postseason action. Should the Raiders make a surprise run, that is.
All right, so what does this all mean for the Raiders in 2025? They've certainly made some bold splashes, betting heavily on veteran talent, that controversial top draft pick, but they also seem to have some pretty significant holes on their roster. How do the sources weigh these factors in their predictions?
The consensus from our sources is that their offense should be significantly improved. With the additions of Geno Smith and Ashton Janney, that makes sense. And their defensive line will be a huge boost if they can finally stay healthy. Big if. However, the defense overall lost a lot and looks like a below-average unit, particularly at linebacker and in the secondary. Depth and quality are major glaring concerns there. The good news is they should be healthier overall, but losing so many key contributors, it's hard to overcome.
And they're in a truly tough division. The other 3 teams, Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, all made the postseason last year. That's a brutal climb for any team looking to rise.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Despite their efforts to improve, they're still probably the worst team in their division. Our sources offer slightly different predictions for their record. Walter Football projects them at 6-11. Football Fan Spot predicts an 8-9 record. Both, however, place them 4th in the AFC West. It's clear they face an uphill battle for a playoff spot in such a competitive conference and division, even with a theoretically easier schedule.
What about the preseason and training camp news for context? How should fans interpret early results from those periods, especially with a new coaching staff, so many new faces?
Right. Training camps open mid to late July. Roster cutdowns happen in late August. The preseason officially kicked off with the Hall of Fame game on July 31st. A key reminder from Steelers OC Arthur Smith is that preseason results can often distort reality. Fans shouldn't overreact too much to early offensive struggles, for example. Many players on the roster bubble are fighting desperately for their spots. Rookies are getting their first real taste of NFL action, can lead to uneven play, lots of mistakes. It's more about individual evaluations, seeing how new schemes begin to gel, observing player development, not really about the final score.
Right. Don't base your season hopes entirely on a single preseason drive.
Exactly.
So there you have it, the 2025 Las Vegas Raiders season in a nutshell. A team making bold win-now moves, betting on veteran leadership and a controversial top draft pick, but facing significant defensive challenges in a highly competitive division.
Yeah, and this raises an important question for you to consider. When a team goes all in with an aggressive short-term approach, especially with key draft picks raising questions of nepotism, what does that truly mean for their long-term stability, their ultimate path to sustained relevance? Particularly when some key defensive areas seem to have taken a significant step backward. How much can an improved offense truly compensate for a potentially weak defense over a grueling 17-game season?
Something to chew on as the season kicks off. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back soon with more insights.